Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Want to talk about NFL Week 11 and college football Week 12. We'll also talk a little bit of NBA. Again, want to encourage people to support the work I'm doing. Sign up for the Patreon. It's all synergy when you sign up for the page. I only charge $5 a month for the best knowledge in the business. 8-0 this week in the NFL. A lot of people made a ton of money yesterday in college football by following a simple pattern. I told people in top 25 games, take all the teams that can go for the 9th win yesterday. 11 for 11 in top 25 games yesterday, where teams going for the 9th win got it. And that's because yesterday in college football, it was the day leaving 45 days left in the year. If you add 1 through 9 together, it equals 45. 45 is the 9th triangular number. So in college football, the Oklahoma State game was a real, barn burner, nerve wracker, but it came through too. Baylor stayed on 9. Oklahoma got their 9th win. So anyway, just going to review NFL, college football, also going to talk about basketball. We went 8-0 in the NFL. Today we're 9-0 for the week. And the only heartbreaker was I really like the Celtics a lot in the NBA today. And I'm really scratching my head about that loss. But, So anyway, NFL Week 11. In the Browns and Steelers game, the whole national media was on the Steelers. And never get your sports advice from the national media. They work for the casinos, period. Gematria reveals things. The biggest clues in this game for Steelers and Browns Thursday Night Football were with the stadium and Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin came in with 130 wins, 70 losses, and 1 tie in the regular season. And for his all-time stats, including the postseason, he was 138, 77, and 1. Well, he picked up his 71st regular season loss and his 78th all-time loss. Browns 71, Cleveland 78. And right at the beginning of the game, they showed Jim Brown up in the press box. I mean, think about it. Jim Brown, the Browns haven't won nothing since the days of Jim Brown. It's all just a mockery. But right in the beginning, they put up this stat. Jim Brown joined the Hall of Fame in 1971. And remember last year, the Browns-Steelers game in Cleveland. It was the first tie in Week 1 since 1971. AFC equals 71, so does Browns. So Tomlin gets the 71st loss and 78th loss all time. Again, Browns 71, Cleveland 78. Plus, we've learned, and we're always learning more, because we have a great community of followers who contribute, do their own research, contribute to the community. Again, this is also why I like to charge a low price, so that you don't have to have a lot of money to have access to this. It's for everyone, $5 a month. You get hundreds of sports picks every single month for $5. We hit at a higher percentage than anyone in the industry, and we charge less than anyone in the industry, because this is about building a community and helping people prosper. But great contributor out there, his name's Martin. Martin found this awesome tool for finding every team's win and loss record at every NFL stadium. And since we started looking at it, it's been a really useful tool. There's only one game since we started looking at it where it's failed. But we saw the Browns could get the 58th win against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh equals 58. Perfect team to get that 58th win against, and they did. And adding insult to injury, it was Jim Brown's 271st day of his age, the day of the game, which is the 58th prime number. So, Browns rolled there. Cowboys and Lions. Once Stafford was out, it looked good for the Cowboys here. Cowboys were one of our picks today. We saw the Cowboys could stay on 11 losses in Week 11 versus the Lions. And it was Dak's 61st game all time. Detroit Lions equals 61. 61's the 18th prime number, and Dak was going for his 18th away win. So Dak picks up that 18th win. So when I write out a pick, I'll always say what team I like, or if I write neutral, it means I just stay away from the game. I'll still throw out my opinion, but if it's neutral, I personally wouldn't touch it. So this one pick, I write Cowboys, Dak gets 18th away win in 61st game versus Detroit Lions 61. And then I'll always write the concern, because again, some people don't like that I do that, because then it makes them apprehensive. But to me, the intelligent thing to always do in every situation in life is always look at, both sides. There's always at least two sides to everything. So you got to look at, and evaluate. You'd be like, okay, well, what's the better narrative? And usually the narratives in the NFL are through the quarterback. So if push comes to shove, it's typically, sorry, I just smacked the mic. If push comes to shove, the narrative is usually through the quarterback. When Stafford was in there, I probably would have been neutral on this game if Stafford stayed in, because Stafford had a chance for his 41st win at home, and Dallas equals 41. But once he was out, with Jeff Driscoll in there, it was looking good for the Cowboys. The Jaguars and Colts, this was a game I stayed neutral on, but my case in point about the quarterback is here. What I wrote in the notes is the team's head-to-head records look better for the Jaguars, but through the quarterback, it looked better for the Colts, and this is why. Notice you had Nick Foles returning this week when you got the Patriots and Eagles Super Bowl match. And on the Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl match, the head referee on the field was number 52, just like it was Super Bowl 52. But this was the thing. Foles, he was 11-10 away in the regular season coming into this game. He became 11-11 in Week 11. So that was really incriminating. And then Jacoby Brissett, he got his 11th win as a starter in Week 11. So the 11s were there with Brissett, and they weren't with Foles. But the reason I didn't want to mess with this, even though the quarterback went the way, is I was just wondering if Foles might win and Wentz might lose. Because it looked like Wentz was going to lose today, which he did. So I was like, that would set up the narrative. Foles wins, Wentz loses. And then the NFL saying, ooh, did the Eagles make the big mistake? But anyway, both of them lose today. So, neutral on this one. The Bills and Dolphins, about 8 things lined up for the Bills in this game. They got their 47th win on the 47-date numerology. They got their 19th win at Miami on the 67-date numerology. 67's the 19th prime. And Allen became 5-5 away in Week 11. 11's the 5th prime. He became 1-1 at Miami. 1-1 like 11. So he became 3-1 versus the Dolphins, like 31. 31's the 11th prime. And Bills got their 7th win of the season on the 17th. 17's the 7th prime, so all of that looked good. And pick Bills, so they had the head-to-head and the QB riddle. The Broncos and the Vikings was a real nail-biter. I was starting to think I was wrong about this game, the way it got off. I picked the Vikings to win this game. My concern was right here, though. Had the Broncos lost today, they would have been 4-4 versus the Vikings on the day leaving 44 days left in the year. And remember, you got to look at the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. Vikings equals 37 in the most pure cipher. It equals 44 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. The more pure cipher is the one that matters more. They both matter, but the 37 plays harder than the 44. So the Broncos falling to 3-7 seem most likely. Plus Colorado and football equal 83, big NFL number. The Vikings could become 8-3 by beating the team from Colorado. So those were the big clues in this game. Plus I like that Zimmer could get his 55th win in Minneapolis. He's the coach of the Vikings. Minneapolis equals 55. You might recall the Patriots fell to 5-5 in Super Bowls in Minneapolis. That game was put away with the sack fumble by number 55. So pick Vikings, Broncos fall to 3-7, and Zimmer picks up 55th win. Only thing to fret about is Broncos becoming 4-4 versus the Vikings. Let me see, I got a man from Minnesota text me right now. Okay. All right, the Saints and Bucks game. We like that the Saints could get to 8-2. Saints equals 82. Saints also equals 37. The Bucks could fall to 3-7. And speaking of the stadiums here, the Bucks got their 82nd loss in their stadium. Saints 82. They improved to 8-2. Sean Payton stays at 82 all-time losses. Plus, we saw this trick earlier this season. The ref on the field was number 126. Earlier this season, he was on the field in a Chargers game, and Phillip Rivers got his 126th win in that game. Sean Payton in this game, the coach of the Saints, where's he at? Sean Payton got his 126th win today with number 126 on the field. So Phillip Rivers did it earlier this year, now Sean Payton. Isn't that interesting? New Orleans also equals 126. So Saints getting to 82, given the 82nd loss. The Jets and Redskins, I didn't mess with this game. I don't like to mess with the loser teams. There was a chance the Jets could stay on 7 losses on the 17th. They did do that. There was a chance the Redskins could fall to 1-9 on this date with 67 numerology, the 19th prime. That is what happened, but I didn't mess with this game. I stayed neutral on it. I was worried that the Jets might fall to 3-9 versus the Redskins because New York's 39, number that shows up a lot with New York. New York Jets, though, is 48. There was the chance they could get to 4-8. That is what they did. So, yeah, I left this game alone. I went neutral on this one. The Falcons and Panthers game. It kind of feels like the Matt Ryan redemption tour is coming. And we talked about this a lot yesterday. There was more here that looked good for the Falcons than the Panthers. And I said I would take the Falcons to cover to play it safe. They ended up wasting the Panthers today. But the big sign was the Falcons could get that 31st win versus the Panthers in Week 11. 31 is the 11th prime number. And let's see. Saw that Ryan could become 47-47 away. 47 date numerology. Panthers equals 47. And there wasn't really anything standing out with Dan Quinn besides staying on 37 all-time losses because Carolina's 37. Plus the Falcons got to 3-7. But what I wrote for this game is close call. If I played it, I would take Falcons to cover because it is Week 11, 5th prime. There could be a number of 5-point games. And the Falcons were a 5.5-point underdog, so I was thinking if they lose, they might just lose by 5. But they wasted Charlotte. And we thought that might happen. Matt Ryan had a great riddle last week to beat Drew Brees. Drew Brees got his 48th loss at home. Atlanta equals 48. Drew Brees last week in Week 10 stayed on 10 wins against the Falcons. How was it? And he got his 10th loss all time against the Falcons, I believe. I think he stayed at 10 wins at home against the Falcons and got his 10th loss all time against the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. There was 2 10s that went against Drew Brees last week in Week 10 with that Falcons game. Texans and Ravens, I stayed neutral on this one. Honestly, it was the stadium that kept me off the Ravens in this game. Because ever since we started following the stadium, it's been really hot. But Baltimore and 41 is a huge number. Baltimore equals 41. It shows up with their team all the time. They became 4-1 at home today by winning, and they won with 41 points. And again, Baltimore and 41, just a very consistent pattern. So that's what we talked about. Baltimore could become 4-1. They end up winning with 41 points. And also Harbaugh got his 112th win today. Houston equals 112. You might recall a couple of years ago, Deshaun Watson was supposedly injured for the season at practice on November 2nd, 1-1-2. On that same day, Andrew Luck was put on the IR for the season, 1-1-2. Andrew Luck equals 112. So does Horseshoe. He's from Houston. His father used to play for the Houston Oilers. If you saw my work earlier on the channel that was deleted this year, the whole ritual with Andrew Luck's retirement, his father, the CEO of the XFL, the naming of the Houston team that week. It's all scripted theater. It's all masonry that runs the show, from the NFL to the XFL. So, anyway, Ravens wasted the Texans. What kept me off the Ravens this week was right here. There was a really great riddle with the stadium for the Texans to upset. The Texans were 0-5 at the stadium. And that means the Ravens were 5-0. Had the Ravens lost, they would have become 5-1 versus the Texans. And not only that, they would have got their 51st loss at the stadium. And Houston Texans equals 51, just like how they hosted Super Bowl 51. So I was like, oh man, these stadium riddles have been so great. But put a neutral there. If I put a neutral, that means I'm not messing with the game. I'm not picking it. I'll still write what I think, but again, just Baltimore's on fire. The 41 was there. Harbaugh getting the 112th win. All of that was really hard to go against, and if I was blind to the stadium, I would have just took Baltimore outright. But man, this is the first game we've seen a stadium riddle fail since we started paying attention to it. And, you know, oftentimes when a team's destined to go places, they're the teams where the riddles against them fail. And we track that year after year in sports. So that's something to think about. You know, if you were following us last year before the season began, we were talking about the War of 1812 and the national anthem and Baltimore, and how the War of 1812 ended with the Battle of New Orleans. So, anyway, just thinking about that. Cardinals and 49ers. The 49ers came into this game 8-1. And if Jimmy G was going to win at home, he was going to be 8-1. Cardinals equals 81. They put up a stat on the screen during this game that the Cardinals were 8-1 in their last 9 games in San Francisco. I'm going to have to verify that, but I was like, man, there's another 81. So anyway, it looked like the 49ers were going to win here. Last night I put out a warning for my followers that maybe the Cardinals had a shot because ESPN was really emphasizing the 46. And I was thinking, 46. Okay, the Cardinals once upon a time were the Chicago Cardinals. Chicago equals 46. You know, the Chicago Bears won their only Super Bowl with the revolutionary 4-6 defense, and they beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl 46-10. So I was like, okay, the Arizona Cardinals have a Chicago history. Sunday Night Football's the Chicago Bears playing in California. So I was like, maybe there's a chance that they could become 4-6-1. So some people decided to take the Cardinals to cover, which if you did, they won that way too. Again, most NFL teams do not cover spreads like this. It's almost like a freebie when you get a spread like this. I mean, it's very rarely that big of a spread is covered. They fail a lot more often than not. And we saw the Cardinals could get the 31st loss against the 49ers, 31 the 11th prime, again, week 11, looking for those 11 numbers. And then Jimmy G becoming 8-1 at home, Cardinals 81. So, and he got his 17th win as a starter on the 17th of the month. And then the other thing we saw is the 49ers were 6-6 with this ref. With a win, they'd be 7-6. San Francisco 76. And if the Cardinals lost with this ref, they were going to get their 11th loss all time with this ref in Week 11. You know, and he wears the number 66. 66 is the 11th triangular number. So, you know, even with the little 46 scare, all the emphasis on 46, 49ers still got it done here. And so, again, pick 49ers. Then gave them the update on what they were saying last night, emphasizing the 46 on ESPN. They were emphasizing how the NFL or the 49ers barely had enough healthy people to put on the 46-man active roster. So I was like, they don't normally make statements like that, emphasize that 46-man active roster. Just made me wonder. And then the Bengals and the Raiders game. Raiders were probably my favorite read of the week. I really like the Raiders. Again, I always teach my people, we hit winners at such a high percentage. Don't get beat on spreads. Do small parlays. Take these teams on the money line. Get your money that way. Do not get beat on spreads. Because if you try to beat spreads, you're going to be paying Vegas's electric bill. But this is what it was in this game. We saw Carr could get his 24th win, Bengals is 24, and Gruden could get his 105th win in the regular season. Cincinnati Bengals is 105. Plus, we saw that the Raiders could improve to 5-1 at home. Cincinnati equals 51. So just, you know, looking golden all over the place for the Raiders. Plus, I've been telling my people since before the season began, I expect the Raiders to get a lot of bones this year, it being their last season in Oakland. And the Bengals fell to 1-1 with this ref, and the Raiders improved to 1-1 with this ref in Week 11. You know, 1-1, 11. So, also the Bengals got their 11th loss all time in the Oakland Coliseum in Week 11, right? Just another great little stat there. 11th loss all time, Week 11, 11-11, 11 men on the field. And then Patriots and Eagles. There was all these stories about how Brady wanted revenge for losing in Super Bowl 52. And again, the ref on this field was number 52, right? But check out the gematria of revenge. 76, right? Philadelphia 76ers. The Eagles led the Patriots in the regular season 7-5 before this game, right? 7-5. So revenge, 76. And let's see here. Revenge equals 40. Tom Brady was 40 years old when he lost Super Bowl 52 to the Eagles. Eagles equals 113 and 32 in these exact ciphers. And if you're new here, these are the 4 base ciphers. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. Eagles is 113 and 32 in those 2 ciphers. And here, I'll just Type it in and show you real quick so you don't have to take my word for it. Eagles, 113-32, right? And remember, in Super Bowl 52, when Brady lost, he picked up his 65th career loss all time in Super Bowl 52 to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is established October 27th, the day leaving 65 days left in the year. That was the day the Eagles beat the Bills. Tom Brady stayed on 223 career wins in Super Bowl 52. He came in with 223 wins. He stayed on it. He picked up his 65th career loss. And if you were here, after week 3, we said the Super Bowl would be Eagles and Patriots that year. And I said, watch the Eagles start the season 10-1. And that's exactly what they did. Tom Brady today stayed on 61 losses, as we'll get to. Another Philadelphia number. Let's see. So, revenge. And again, if it wasn't for that revenge narrative, it would have been really tough to call, because had the Eagles won, they would have become 8-5. National Football League equals 85. Brady equals 85. Boston equals 85. They beat the Patriots in their 85th season in that Super Bowl. That was the Eagles' 85th season where they won the Super Bowl. This year is their 87th season. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So and this is amazing too, the way they do this stuff. So today was Bill Belichick's 216th day of his age, right? 216. And look at what Brady did. He became 216 and 61 in the regular season. On Belichick's 216th day of his age, Brady gets his 216th win and stays at 61 losses. Check this out. Revelation. There's a letter written to the Church of Philadelphia. And Philadelphia is 61. Notice church is 61. Notice Christian 61. Notice Christmas is 61. Notice Jesus is 61, right? Cross is 61. We can go on. 61 is a special number. It comes from sacred geometry. The flower of life's made out of 61 circles. 61 is the 18th prime number. The word prime itself is 61. That's why Roger Maris hit 61 home runs in 1961. Anyway, there's a letter written to the Church of Philadelphia in Revelation, and it's about the key of David, this instrument of prophecy. Now, I want you to see that the key of David is 216, right? 216. Brady gets his 216th win in the regular season, stays at 61 losses, and does it on Belichick's 216th day of his age. Understand, this is how NFL teams are assembled, and the entire world of pro sports, because rituals like this go on every single day. And the only way for all of this to be so perfect is for, the right pawns to be chosen to be put on the chessboard for the future planned and scripted rituals. Because there's no difference from watching pro sports and watching a sitcom or a movie. It's all written in scripted theater. And if you're out there going like, well, how can you do that? I mean, there's air and stuff. Have you ever watched a sports game? Have you ever seen the way the officials blow the whistle nonsensically? That's how it's done. They're the people that are right there making sure that the live theater script ends the way it needs to be. Oh, was that guy supposed to hit the third down pass for the first down but didn't? Whoop! Flag! I mean, how many times have you seen this with the Patriots? Was this not the AFC Championship last year? Is this not like every NFL game almost every single week? It's just a joke. It's a joke. So, and 135 is just a huge number in Philadelphia. For this other, the key of David, Philadelphia was established on a date with 135 numerology. For all you Eagles fans out there, fly, Eagles, fly, right? Fly, Eagles, fly, 135. Carson Wentz, remember he set the rookie record, most passes without an interception. Which pass number was intercepted? If you go back and look, I guarantee you it was his 135th pass. And you really think these $1 million guys that on defense that drop the interceptions all the time, that they're just right in their chest, right in their hands, you really think that they can't catch those balls? And the announcer is always saying the same thing, well, that's why they're on defense. I mean, you could throw those same balls to a second grader all day who doesn't even play football and they'd catch them. Pro sports are such a joke. Such a joke. So anyway, Bill Vinovich, number 52, was the ref. And what else was awesome that we documented about this is the Patriots could become 9-3 with this ref, Bill Vinovich, exactly 93 weeks after Super Bowl 52, which is exactly what it was. That Super Bowl was February 4th, 2018. Here, I'll just show you real quick. February 4th, 2018. It was on the 35th day of the year. Tom Brady equals 35. Nick Foles equals 149, the 35th prime. That's why yesterday Colin Kaepernick in the Stage Theater was doing his QB audition at Riverdale High School, which equals 149, the 35th prime. QB equals 35. Oh, I got the wrong year in here. I need 2018. So there it is. From the Super Bowl 52, to today's revenge game, 93 weeks, right? And that Super Bowl, if you haven't been here, at the conclusion of Super Bowl 51, where the Patriots beat the Falcons, I put out a video right after the game, and I said, bookmark Tom Brady for Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis, Minnesota on the 93rd Meridian, because if you go back and look at the Super Bowl 51 box score, I just guarantee you this is 1,000% factual. Tom Brady had 62 passes, and the New England offense had 93 plays. Check this out. Minneapolis equals 62, right? And Minneapolis, Minnesota equals 93. And that's what coordinate Minneapolis is on, the 93rd Meridian. So Super Bowl 52 was won by the Philadelphia Eagles, which equals 93, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then look at how they scheduled this game 93 weeks later, the revenge game. And they even put a ref on the field, where if the Patriots win, they'll be 9-3 with that ref, Bill Vinovich. Isn't it great, man? And the Eagles fell to 4-7 with this ref on the 47 date numerology. The first Super Bowl season was the 47th season of the NFL. Just like how Philadelphia won the first basketball championship in the year 47. But Patriots and the revenge narrative. And so anyway, 8-0 today in NFL for games we took. And again, just real quick, those games were the Cowboys. We took the Cowboys game. We took the Bills. We took the Vikings. We took the Saints. We took the Falcons to cover. We took the Niners. And we took the Raiders, plus the Patriots. So the other games, they were just a little bit too hairy. And again, this is why there's a full-time community paid to troll and harass me every single day on every platform that I have, from my blog to my Facebook to my Twitter to my Patreon page. There's people that pay money just to harass and destroy the Patreon page. Who do you think these people work for? No doubt they work for the casinos. They work for the leagues. And, you know, the people who come to my work, the only people who come and are disappointed by my work are people who aren't very bright. I mean, you got to be pretty dumb to not be impressed with what we do every single day. Dominate the world of sports we do almost every single day. And the thing is, you know, people who are new, who don't really understand gambling, they might struggle a little bit. Like one person complained, they said, I only won 5 out of 8 today, Zach. I thought you said you had a perfect day. Well, the reason they won 5 out of 8 is because they didn't listen to what I said. I say never get beat on spreads. Small parlays, money line. Only take dogs on the money line when it looks really good. Otherwise, take them to cover. What I teach every single day. And a lot of times, money line games, they don't pay a lot unless you parlay them together. That's why if you took the group of 8 games today and you made parlays out of them, you know, you could have made a whole bunch of money. I would never advocate for somebody to parlay all 8 of my picks today together. I mean, if you did that, you won a ton. But some people do that. But, I mean, when you take 8 games in a parlay, you just need one. If you don't know what a parlay is, it's like saying, I like this game, and this game to win. If one goes wrong, you lose the whole bet. So, anyway, that was NFL. College football, here's what I wrote right at the top. November 16th leaves 45 days left in the year. 45, 9th triangular number. Look for teams going for 9th win in streaks of 9. 999. I just knew it was going to be a monster. And check this out. Ranked games. Show you this. And we did more than just the games going for 9. I mean, I went through every single ranked game. So, teams going for the 9th win. Let me just scroll through this. Georgia going for the 9th win. Got it. Alabama going for the 9th win, got it. Oregon going for the 9th win, got it. Utah going for the 9th win, got it. Minnesota going for... Oh, Minnesota State on 9, actually. That wasn't part of our group. Penn State going for the 9th win, got it. Oklahoma going for the 9th win, got it, plus kept Baylor on 9 wins. Florida going for the 9th win, got it. Just finding all the other 9 games here. Cincinnati going for 9, got it. Memphis going for 9, got it. And let's see. Boise State going for 9, got it. West Virginia had a great narrative upset. That wasn't one of the 9s. Appalachian State going for 9, got it. Now, there wasn't a single game where a team was going for 9 and they didn't get it. So, if you... And this is what we've documented with college sports over the years. Basketball and football are the same way. If there's a... And it doesn't happen every single day, but some days you get a date where you have a number that has a really strong relationship with another number. 45 days left in the year, 9th triangular number. Again, if you add 1 through 9 together, it equals 45. It's why Donald Trump did that commercial for Serta mattresses in 2009, wearing the same suit and tie that he wore for election night, and he's talking to digital sheep in a hallway, 2 sheep standing on pillars. There's a number 11 sheep in the background and a number 9 sheep. And just think about that, 11, 9, pillars. But Donald Trump talks to sheep number 9 in the commercial, and he goes, "Looking good, number 9, looking good." Just like that. And earlier in the commercial, there's dialogue about born for the job. Again, when you add 1 through 9, it equals 45. Donald Trump announces the 45th president-elect on what date? 11/9, November 9th, the early hours of that day. The anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Berlin Wall equals 45. Ritual 45. So anyway, these numbers are used in more than just sports. And I didn't figure out that sports were rigged by looking for sports rigging this way. First I saw how the news was rigged this way, and then I realized they were doing the sports the same way. So anyway, I told my people, 9 gonna be the number in college football. Now there were other games that didn't have the 9s on the board, so let's just go through those games. Alabama won their 12th straight game against Mississippi State in Week 12. Not that was a hard call. Penn State wasn't a hard call either. Understand, a lot of these 9 calls weren't hard calls because they were great schools playing loser schools. But still, you put all the games together, it's good. Florida, Missouri. And we saw that Florida could become 4-5 against Missouri at Missouri's field on the day, leaving 45 days left in the year. Wisconsin, Nebraska. So this game, this is a game where I thought Nebraska had a decent shot at an upset here. There was the chance that Wisconsin, who was the favorite, would become 5-2 in the Big Ten because Cornhuskers is 52. That was there. But oftentimes what I call overlap numbers, when they appear, there's a good chance they come through. Wisconsin equals 55, and so does Nebraska. Had Nebraska won this game, they would have been 5-5. So I thought Nebraska had a chance to upset. I thought they would have covered. They didn't. I believe they lost by 16, so I was wrong about that game. Michigan State. Again, don't forget the Michigan State deaths we had. We had the death of Cassius Winston's little brother, who was hit by the Wolverine train 57 days before the Michigan State basketball game. Michigan State equals 57. Cassius Winston's a big star at Michigan State. His little brother hit by the Wolverine train. Story that doesn't make any sense. Rituals. And then the day after that, what was in the news was the death of Charles Rogers, who played at Michigan State and who played for the Detroit Lions. He died on Veterans Day. Detroit Lions equals 61. He died on a date with 61 numerology on 11/11 before Week 11, before this college football game this same weekend. But Michigan was a big favorite, but just how awesome the riddles are. Harbaugh got his 46th win with Michigan in this game in the Battle of Michigan. Michigan equals 46. Just like how at the start of this football season, I showed how the Washington coach for the Washington Huskies, they were playing Eastern Washington, and he was going for his 140th win as a coach. Washington equals 140. And check this out. This was an awesome riddle from this past Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football, Seahawks and 49ers. That game was on Washington State's 130th birthday. Washington State turned 130 last Monday Night Football, when the Seahawks from Washington State won. Pete Carroll got his 130th win in the regular season, and he got his 140th win all time on Washington's 130th birthday. And then the Seahawks improved to 8-2. Seattle's 82, and Russell Wilson became 8-2 on Monday Night Football. And that was a really hard game to call because we talked about that before the game was played and how that was there. I told people that if I was going to bet the game, I'd probably take the Seahawks because there was a lot more value in taking them than taking the 49ers. But what was really hard about that game is, whoops, hit the mic again. Hold on. San Francisco's that 50 city. The Seahawks did become 5-0 away in San Francisco. But what was hard about that game is Monday was the day leaving 50 days left in the year. It is the 50th season of Monday Night Football. And had the 49ers won, they would have got their 50th win all time on Monday Night Football. You know? So it was like, God, how did they structure this riddle, man? You got a super awesome narrative for the Seahawks and Pete Carroll and Washington's birthday. But then the 49ers, the 50 city, going for their 50. I mean, so. And it was a doozy of a game. Kayla, who might be in the chat, she did a prop bet for the game to go to overtime using her own intuition. Seattle's 44, Veterans Day's 44. My mic stand's screwed up. Oh my God. I can't keep the mic up. My fault, you guys. Veterans Day. You see how it's 163? That's the 38th prime number. Death is 38. Charles Roger died at age 38 that day. Jimmy G became 16-3 as a starter on Veterans Day by losing that game. So Seattle and overtime both equal 44 like Veterans Day. Shout out to Kayla. She hit a nice prop bet with that. She just had a hunch the game. You know, don't doubt that women's intuition. She had a hunch the game was going to go to overtime. She was right on. And that was just like the year the first Super Bowl went to overtime. We actually predicted that before it happened. It was a date with 44 numerology. So, again, Gematria. It'll get you places. All right, so, college football. Back to it. Kansas, Oklahoma State. Kansas falling to 3-7, like 37. 37 is the 12th prime in Week 12. Kansas Jayhawks equals 37. That looked good. And Kansas also equals 43. Oklahoma State becoming 4-3 in the Big 12. You know, again, you know, for years people have come and they've said, "Oh, this is dumb because you're using all these ciphers." What's dumb is how I can't keep my mic up. My goodness. But again, just things like this. Seattle Seahawks equals 43, right? In the most pure cipher, and then Seahawks is 48. They won Super Bowl 48 with 43 points. You would never see these things unless you use the multiple ciphers. Kansas 43, but Kansas Jayhawks in the most pure cipher, 37. So again, you need the alphabetic order forwards and backwards to see the totality of the riddles. And for people who come and say, "Oh, this is dumb," you're just like using, and people, I mean, just dumb people. They come and they'll always leave the same type of comment. "Oh, you could probably make anything equal anything using 4 ciphers," which is like, no, you can't. And the problem is people are dumb mathematically. I mean. Anyway, I'm not even going to elaborate on it. If you want to be dumb and skip on this knowledge, well, sorry, you're the type of person that's not turning $5 bets into $3,000 bets like people who follow me are. Sorry. Sorry you were too dumb to grasp the most awesome knowledge there ever was. Now, here's the game. I was wrong about this, too. I thought Navy had a shot to upset or hang with Notre Dame, because usually when there's a tight riddle, the game's tight. And Notre Dame wasted Navy. Fighting Irish equals 73. And Navy Midshipmen equals 73 and 82. Fighting Irish actually equals 73 and 82 as well. So there was a chance Notre Dame could get to 8-2. But what I saw for the Navy coach is if he would have won, he would have got his 95th win, and Notre Dame equals 95. So, anyway. Also, the concern for me about Navy was that they were on 78 wins. That's the 12th triangular number. It was Week 12, so maybe stay on the 78 in Week 12. And oh, you know what? Never mind. No, that's not true. I wrote this wrong. I did a typo in the notes. That should say Notre Dame leads 78 to 13-1. I'm sure people knew what I meant. I didn't mean to write that wrong. But that was also what I was thinking, that maybe Notre Dame would stay on the 78 wins. They didn't. So that game was disappointing. I thought Navy had a shot there. Ohio State was obviously going to roll over Rutgers. Buckeyes equals 28. Rutgers fell to 2-8. Clemson was obviously going to waste Wake Forest. Clemson got their 39th win at home against Wake Forest on a 39-date numerology. Again, it just shows how perfectly it's all scripted. What are the odds they pick up their 39th win at home on Wake Forest on a 39-date numerology if it wasn't scripted? So, Georgia and Auburn. Georgia was one of those teams going for 9 wins. So, Georgia picked up the 9th win against Auburn. Memphis was going for the 9th win against Houston. 9s were the cake. Iowa State beat Texas. I could tell this game was going to be close. Iowa State was a 7-point favorite. I thought Texas had a chance here, so that Texas would have been a cover game. If Iowa State was going to win, which they did, both teams were going to be 4-3 in the Big 12, and that is what happened. Texas Longhorns equals 191, the 43rd prime. The Iowa State coach, he had a chance at his 39th all-time loss on the 39 date. He didn't get it. He won. And what else was there? Yeah, so anyway, Iowa State was the favorite at home. Texas had a chance through the coach possibly picking up that loss. Texas did cover. I believe they lost by a field goal. They didn't lose by a touchdown, so Texas covered. And then West Virginia, Kansas State. You pay attention to West Virginia in college. They're a sneaky team. They pull off upsets in all sports. Seems like every year you hear about a West Virginia team beat a team they shouldn't have. West Virginia, their coach was going for his 39th win on the 39-date numerology, plus Mountaineers equals 55. If Kansas State lost, which they did, they were going to be 5-5 versus the Mountaineers. And that's what happened. And think about it, Kansas State got a big upset this year. Now they get a big upset against them. It's kind of like, it's the give and take of this whole rigged relationship. Virginia gets humiliated in basketball, losing to a 16 seed. The next year they win the championship, which is part of the reason we had Virginia winning the championship, something we called in February. A lot of people won big on that. Let's see. Minnesota, Iowa. Now I got this game wrong. Usually things like this come through. The Iowa coach could have picked up his 105th loss. Minnesota Golden Gophers equals 105. So I thought he would get that 105th loss. I know Iowa won this game. I think they won by a touchdown. So Minnesota didn't cover anything. Minnesota stayed on 9 wins. Staying on the number, I guess that fits into the whole 9 narrative of the day, but again, I always tell people it's more about picking up the number than staying on it. Sometimes teams stay, but not always. So, wrong about that one. LSU and Ole Miss, this was a no-brainer, obviously. Rebels equals 25. The Rebels fell to 2-5 in the SEC. And Arkansas equals 60. LSU will face Arkansas next week, 6-0 in the SEC, like 60. Ole Miss coach got his 20th loss, LSU's 20. Cincinnati was one of those teams going for the 9th win. They got it. Again, 45 days left in the year, the 9th triangular number. So, the South Florida coach also got his 51st loss. Cincinnati's 51, just like how the Raiders improved to 5-1 at home against Cincinnati today. Again, you'll see the same riddles all across sports. So, and then Oklahoma and Baylor, it was looking like I was going to be wrong about this one. It was looking like it was going to be the only 9 game that failed, but Oklahoma came back and beat Baylor. And that's the other nice thing about this knowledge. If you see a great riddle for Oklahoma to win, like there's one of my followers won a ton because he took Oklahoma when they were down 20 points. Just like somebody won a ton today off the Vikings that follows me because they took the Vikings. They doubled down when the Vikings were way down today. Got those long odds. Because again, both teams had great riddles to win. We saw Baylor could get their 12th loss at home to Oklahoma in Week 12. Again, Oklahoma could get that 9th win. Baylor could stay on 9. And the Baylor coach stayed on 45 wins all time on the day, leaving 45 days left in the year as well. So, just a great riddle for Oklahoma. And that's why I was like, when Baylor was up, I was like, what in the world is going on in this game? You got to be kidding me, man. But they came back and won. And then Appalachian State was another team going for the 9th win. Utah and UCLA was a no-brainer. Utah going for that 9th win. Chip Kelly got his 22nd loss. That's the UCLA coach. Utah equals 22. And then New Mexico, Boise State, another no-brainer game. Boise State got their 9th win. And then Arizona, Oregon. Oregon got the 9th win, plus Arizona fell to 2-5 in the Pac-12. Oregon equals 25. And Oregon became 7-4 versus Arizona when ranked. Oregon equals 74. You just saw Oregon beat Memphis at the beginning of the week in the tournament in Oregon, sponsored by Nike's Phil Knight. Memphis lost with 74 points to Oregon. And the Oregon coach also got his 45th win on the day, leaving 45 days left in the year in Eugene, Oregon, which equals 45. So for all you Oregon Duck fans out there, instead of doing this on the camera, doing the O for Autzen, what you need to be holding up is some Gematria sign. Be proud of Gematria. Your boy who figured it out is a Portland native. But I'll tell you something else that was funny from college sports. A guy called me up early in the morning yesterday, and he goes, Zach, I got a huge upset in college basketball. Let me know if I should do it. And it was a non-ranked game. It was Oregon State, Wyoming, right? And I'm going to show you this game yesterday. It's hilarious. Hey, speaking of Oregon, they're at the top. That's funny. Synchronicity. Let me find this game real quick from yesterday. Oregon State. Oh, no, I need unranked games. This is a real story right here. So a guy calls me up yesterday morning and he says, Zach, I think Wyoming's going to beat Oregon State because if Oregon State loses, they will be 7-4 versus Wyoming, and you always talk about Oregon and 7-4. I said, well, did you run the Gematria on Wyoming? And he goes, hold on, let me do that. And here, I'll just do it for you so we can do it in real time. So he types in Wyoming, right? And he sees that Wyoming's 83. And then I said, don't forget, Oregon is 74, but in the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, it's 38. And I said, think about it. Oregon State, who's an 11-point favorite and will probably win, if they win, they'll be 8-3 against Wyoming, Wyoming 83, and Wyoming will be 3-8 versus Oregon State. So I said, I don't think that's a good upset call. I said, yeah, the 74's there, it's possible. But I said the connections with the 83 and 38s, both teams, Oregon State a pretty big favorite. That's probably the way it's going to go. And then about 10 hours later in the day, you got the final score, and Oregon State's won with 83 points. And, it's just like you go through box scores and you run the Gematria teams, you just see how many games are like this every single week, pro and college. So it can't be an accident. It can't be a coincidence every single day. Some people think it's the Matrix, like it's possible. The way when I see these NFL players out there trying to tackle people with their arms tucked in and just bumping into them and letting them run right by, that's what makes me think it's not the Matrix. That's what makes me think it's all rigged. When I see a 0-2 count, pitcher's up, no balls, 2 strikes, and then he throws a meatball right down the middle that gets jacked out of the park, I'm thinking like, really, man? Oh, okay. Little League pitcher wouldn't throw that pitch 0-2 count. Come on. So, anyway. Here's the game that ruined me today. My man Frank in Vegas, man, he just has to swing for the fences. He can go 8-0 in football and then lose all his money for the day because he doubled down on the Celtics game. And again, I tell people not to gamble like this. My man Frank, he breaks even so often when we dominate because, well, in some days he does hit grand slams and makes a ton of money. But anyway, he went huge on the Celtics and he didn't win any money today, even though we dominated football because of this Celtics-Kings game. Because like me, he loved this game. We talked about it all week. We had all the Celtics games right leading up to this game because we talked about how the Celtics would win all their games and then win against the Kings to finish the ritual. And I'm just like, what in the world? How didn't they win today? But had the Celtics won, they would have been 6-1 away. And we were tracking this through their other games up this week because we had it mapped out. They'll get to 6-1 against the Kings. Because Sacramento Kings is 61. We just saw the Lakers become 6-1 at home against the Kings. Finals is 61. I thought this might be a clue for things to come, but now I got to go back to the drawing board. So anyway, had the Kings lost, they would have been 4-8. Boston Celtics is 48. If there's an S in a word, you can add +9 in the reduction cipher. So Boston Celtics is also technically 57, but the more pure cipher is where it's at. Again, the reason there's a rule with S is because S is the 19th letter. The numerology of 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. S is the only letter you have to add together 2 times to get to a single digit. So S is worth 1 when Boston Celtics is 48, but S can be worth 10 as well. And then that's where Boston Celtics would be 57, like how the Kings won today by a point after the Celtics gave up their fourth quarter lead. And had the Kings lost, they would have been 2-4 at home. Kings is 24 in the most pure cipher, but again, there is an S, so it's also 33. But also, Luke Walton, whose father played for the Boston Celtics, Bill Walton, who helped the Blazers win their only championship. He could have got his 156th loss today, and his team could have fallen to 4-8. And this is the thing. I mean, sometimes really great riddles don't come through. These are the 2 best ciphers, the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order of the rules of numerology. Boston Celtics is 156 and 48. So, I mean, this game looked primo to me. And, again, I always say the same thing to my followers. I say, just because a game's the top riddle of the day, I say, I just be consistent. You know, we can see which games are going to win a lot more often than not. Just because a game's the best there ever was, or it looks the best on paper for the day, I said, I wouldn't go crazy on those games. I just stay consistent. You know, have the same strategy. Be consistent. And, because if you're not, you can do what Frank did. And I love Frank, man. He's a great tipper. He's one of the only people that follows me that tips. But, just so often he expresses his disappointment to me on great days, and then I feel bad because I'm like, man, you shouldn't be having a bad day. We're 8-1 today. I mean, you should have had a winning day, 8-1, man. Can't lose money when we go 8-1. But that's what happens when you swing for the fences every pitch. So yesterday. So. When I make notes, I'll bold things that I really like, but I'll always start with the things that look the most important. Yesterday was the day where the Nines looked big. Bulls picked up their 9th loss yesterday, becoming 4-9. Chicago Bulls is 49. The Bucks and Pacers game, a lot lined up for the Bucks yesterday. Pacers equals 62. The Bucks became 6-2 away by beating them. Indiana equals 52. The Pacers fell to 5-2 at home by losing yesterday in Indiana. Milwaukee became 5-2 in the conference by beating Indiana. Pacers fell to 3-4 in the division by losing to the Bucks. Bucks 34. It wasn't a one-way street, though. It definitely looked better for the Bucks, and they did win the game. But there were a couple things to think about. Indiana Pacers also equals 84. Bucks had a chance to fall to 8-4. And again, the coach riddles, they don't come through a lot. I don't usually use the coaches, but I still look at them. Had the Bucks coach lost, he could have got his 26th loss. Pacers is 26. In the Hornets and Knicks game, looked better for the Hornets. They had a chance to get to 6-7, and they did. Knicks is 67. They won. And then the other thing was the Knicks coach, he got his 75th loss yesterday. Charlotte Hornets is 75. And the Hornets coach got his 45th win on the day leaving 45 days left in the year yesterday. The Rockets and Timberwolves, I love me a 52 Minnesota riddle. Last week I was talking about Rig Sports and Minnesota in 52, and then Sunday Night Football was played after I made that video. What was the score? 28-24, 52. Minnesota in 52 all day. Rockets became 5-2 away against Minnesota. What's up, caller?
Hey, what up, Dad?
What's up, man?
Hey, I just jumped on your stream right now. Just let you know, I don't know if you know, your stream is public. I just thought, let you know, I don't know if someone else called in earlier.
Yeah, it's public. Yeah, it's public because I'm not giving them any picks. So. All right. Thanks, man. Okay. So, anyway, Rockets become 5-2 away. Minnesota in 52. Always. Yesterday you had a double 9 riddle in the Pelicans and Heats game. Heat could get that 9th win. Pelicans could get that 9th loss. Again, the day leaving 45 days left in the year, the 9th triangular number. The Raptors and Mavericks game I got wrong yesterday. We had the Raptors winning their games up to this one because it looked good for them to win this game as well. And I'm noticing a trend with the Celtics game and this game. We talked about these games in advance and why the Raptors would win through other Western Conference opponents to set this up with the Mavericks, and we got those games right. But had the Raptors won, they would have been 6-1 versus the West. And Mavericks is 61. And usually riddles like that come through, so it was a little bit of a head scratcher. The Trailblazers and Spurs. The Blazers beat the Spurs yesterday. We talked about how the Spurs might end up losing this game 2 games out in advance so that this could exactly happen. So the Blazers could become 5-8 and the Spurs 5-8. San Antonio's 58. Blazers became 4-4 away. Spurs became 4-4 at home. Portland 44. So it looked a bit better for the Blazers, but again, it wasn't a one-way street. Trailblazers also equals 53. The Spurs had a chance to get to 5-3 at home, so that was something to consider. LaMarcus Aldridge, who used to play for the Blazers, now a Spur, his name equals 67. Had the Spurs won, they would have been 6-7. Sometimes there's tributes like that to players. But again, I'll always list in order of the things that I think are the most stand out. So, I mean, you know, based on every game we've gone through, the initial read, the most likely scenario to play out, played out in every single game except for one so far. And then the Hawks and Clippers, this looked like a good night. What's the phrase? I can't think. I want to say good night, Irene, but that's not right. Is it good night, Irene? Whatever it is. Clippers looked really good yesterday. LA Clippers is 48. Atlanta's 48. Hawks fall into 4-8. Made a lot of sense. They lost by 49 points. Staples Center's 49. But and then Paul George came out and scored 37, I believe, in his Los Angeles debut. Los Angeles equals 37. Georgia equals 37, where the Hawks are from. But Hawks fall into 4-8 all day. So, and again, just everywhere, they're just the trolls. Like, here's one of the trolls. How come I'm not indicating my picks here? I mean, how dumb do you got to be to not think I'm indicating my picks? Plus, every day we do a live stream, and I tell people what's underlined, what's bolded. Those are the most prominent things to play. So if something's bold, it means I like it a lot. And anyway, so Pistons, Hornets. This is Friday. Let's see. Friday, there were just 3 games I think we did in the NBA on Friday. A lot of really tight games. But 76ers Thunder game. Like, just look how awesome these riddles can be in the NBA. So the Thunder looked good, and 2 of the things that really stood out about this game is the 76ers coach could pick up his 319th loss on the 319th day of the year. Plus, the Thunder had a chance to become 10-1 versus Philadelphia at home in the time that they've been Oklahoma City. 10-1, Philadelphia 101, Philadelphia 101. Those numbers hitting all the time. So Thunder took care of the 76ers. They were a dog at home. And the Jazz and the Grizzlies game burned me. I like the Jazz here. One of my followers, he liked the Grizzlies more, and he was right. What I liked about the Jazz was they could get to 6-3 in the conference, and Jazz is 63. And the Jazz faced the Timberwolves next. Minnesota Timberwolves is 93, like Minneapolis, Minnesota's 93. That was just like the Rockets game. We thought the Rockets would probably win to get to 9-3 because they played Minnesota next as well. So it did work out there, but didn't work out with the Jazz. The Wizards and Timberwolves got me on Friday. They announced Wiggins wasn't playing at the last minute. He's one of their star players. But it was the 59th game, the 17th prime. Wolves could have got the 17th home win. Usually those prime numbers are great. And also Minneapolis, or the Wolves who play in Minneapolis, had a chance to get to 6-2 versus the East. Notice they were 5-2 versus the East before that, Minnesota 52. They had a chance to get to 6-2, but they didn't. So that was a bummer. And Celtics and Warriors, this was a no-brainer. Celtics beating the Warriors. Chase Center equals 101. Celtics improved to 10-1. And we talked about how the Warriors could fall to 2-11 in the Chase Center. And look at how they do, fans. They get the taxpayers to pay for these expensive stadiums, then it's built, and now the Warriors are worse than they've been in 20 years. And that's how the people who run this league, that is how they operate. That is how they mock the people. And for all of you who come and hate on me, realize you're exactly what the tyrants who do this mocking, you are their spawn. They love you. They love the people who come and shit on this work and dismiss this. They know you're their good little goyim, truly. That's what they know about you. They know you're going to be the chump at the next ball game playing for the overpriced ticket. I always get sick of hearing from people who follow me say, hey man, I'm at the game. Okay, you must not listen to what I say. I say people need to stop going to these games. Stop giving this money to these tyrants. I don't want to hear that you're at the game. You might as well keep that a secret from me. I don't want to know that you're at any games. So I'm just thinking, okay, you are not understanding the point of my work. And the Kings and Lakers, again, Lakers were becoming 6-1 at home against the Kings. Sacramento Kings 61, so I think we went 3-2 Friday, which isn't great in basketball. 3-1 yesterday. 0-1 today, but that's okay. 8-0 in football, so we're all good. But, yeah, just wanted to sum up the week. I see Simple Truth TV's looking out for Bill Russell. Yeah, we'll see. I forget how old Bill Russell is now. I wonder if he makes it to 85, because Boston's 85, basketball's 85, so... All right, you guys, we'll wrap it up there. Got to make the sweet lady some dinner, but thank you for tuning in. And if you're not signed up for the Patreon, I really recommend you do. If as many people were signed up as there should be, I'd be hiring a team of people, and we'd be taking this work even further. So that's the goal. We need like a revenue stream of $100,000 a month, literally, and that should be easy to get based on what we're doing. I mean, imagine what Netflix's revenue stream is a month. I mean, how many of you are watching and signed up for Netflix but not for my Patreon? Serious question. I bet almost all of you. I bet almost all of you pay $20 a month to Netflix, and you sit there every night and you like flip through 1,000 movies and you're like, God, all these movies suck. Hour goes by, you still haven't found a movie, but you got $20 a month for that, right? I bet you do. I bet you got $20 a month for that crap service, but you don't got $5 for this. Because honestly, we really do need like at least $100,000 a month, because we would hire a team of people, we'd have a fleet of people, we'd have an office, we'd be traveling, we'd have the Gematria team out, Stop supporting these whack-ass rigged games. We paid for these stadiums. Let's take these stadiums back. Yeah, we can stop pro sports, but let's make them legitimate. Let's not make it so that you have to take out a second mortgage to take your family to the game, So, anyway, Patreon, the link is in the description. I'll pin it as the top post. It's $5 a month. That ain't nothing. Make sure when you sign up, though, you click the button to stay subscribed. Otherwise, you will be unsubscribed on the first. That's what Patreon does. You notice every single month about 500 patrons fall off, and then they slowly come back over the course of the month. Same thing every single month. So, Richie says my picks pay for his Netflix. Yeah, they probably pay for a lot more than that, too, but... Anyway, sounds like you're signed up for the Patreon. If you're signed up for the Patreon, I'm not gonna give you a hard time about being signed up for Netflix. So, anyway, we'll leave it there. Until next time.